Charlie's Angels is written and directed by Elizabeth Banks and stars Kristen Stewart, Ella Balinska, and Naomi Scott. And this is a continuation of the franchise that has been going on for some time now, since the TV series and the two films that came out in the early 2000s. And in this film, a new team of angels has assembled to take on a new threat that is facing the world, and they have to get all together and form up a team and do some really awesome, badass stuff, and with some gadgets and stunts and look awesome while doing it. You know what you are getting into with a film like Charlie's Angels at this point. There's not much more that I can say beyond that, especially not in terms of a plot synopsis, because that's not what you're going for. I'm gonna be honest with you. The first Charlie's Angels movie with Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu, I really like that movie. Yes, it's stupid, it's bizarre, it's cheesy, it's very early 2000s, but it's a ton of fun. It's a very enjoyable movie. I don't even mind Full Throttle. It's a fine sequel. Yes, it's not as good as the first one, if that is what you classify as good, but it's a fun movie. These movies are made for a specific reason, and they're made with a very specific target audience in mind. So it's very hard to be professionally like a critic when it comes to a film franchise such as this. It's very similar to Fast and the Furious, and that's fine. Even Baywatch, when I reviewed that film, I knew what I was getting into and I reviewed it accordingly. And very similarly, I'm going to review Charlie's Angels, this one, exactly the same way. How is this movie? It's fine. It's an entertaining, action-packed film with three actresses who are doing a really good job with a story that's not the best, but then again, you went because you know what you were going in for. A lot of this film, though, is helmed by the chemistry of the three actresses. They're all really, really good here. And I think the standout for me was probably Ella Balinska. She did a really good job. There's a few moments with her that were very dramatic, and I thought she did a great job at those. Naomi Scott is continuing to prove she's one of the better talents in Hollywood right now. She's really good in this movie. Kristen Stewart was a really nice surprise, because I've seen her in a lot of indie films since the Twilight series where she's been amazing. But her going back to a franchise right now was worrying for me, because I was like, no, I hope that she doesn't have a similar directional style like she did with another franchise that made her famous. Thankfully, she doesn't. She's very charismatic in this movie. Some of the humor she's given, not the best. We'll talk more about that later. But she still shines. And the supporting cast around is also really good. Elizabeth Banks is really entertaining. She has a great few moments as well. So does Sam Claflin and Noah Centineo, whoever that is. And Patrick Stewart. Yes, he's also in this movie. Forgot about that. They're all good in this film, and it definitely lives up to the name that you would expect a film like Charlie's Angels to have. The action sequences are very entertaining. There's a bunch of really great first, second, and third act breakers that were really fun and really awesome. There's a lot of great stunt work that's gone into this, lots of physicality required, and they did a fantastic job. There's one scene in particular at a factory that was really, really awesome, and I thought that was easily one of the highlight sequences of the entire film. It's a very raw and gritty sequence, and surprisingly, it's very realistic, and it does get a pretty dark at times for a Charlie's Angels movie, because these are usually fun films, but this one's got some dark moments in it, which I did kind of appreciate. It's a very fun, zappy movie that is really entertaining from start to finish. And it's anchored with a sure hand. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably expecting a more professional and serious review of this movie, rather than something that's fun and just giving into the fact that it's a really fun summer movie that's out in November. And I understand that. If that's the case, very well. But then again, how else can I review this film? If you want a professional opinion, yeah, it's not that good a movie. I mean, it's got a lot of issues. It is very overly familiar. It's got a lot of plot conveniences. some stilted dialogue, and yeah, there you go. There's your professionalism, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's not the best story in the world. It's not the most original story in the world. But then again, is that really the point? Is that what you're going for? Because if that's what you're going for, then you're not gonna like this movie at all. This is one of those films where you kind of have to give yourself to the concept of what it's really about and what it's doing. What I do like, though, on a professional note, is that I like that this is a sequel. It's not a reboot of the franchise. It very much acknowledges that there have been installments before and that this is all part of a connected world. And it does some world building in that regard, which I think is a really good idea. This was something that Ghostbusters in 2016 said it would do, but then it turned out to be a full-blown reboot, not a sequel, even though the trailer said it would be a sequel. And I thought that was a mistake because I think it would have been a stronger film, that one, if it was jumping off of the fact that stuff had already happened before. But it doesn't quite do that. And it did feel a little wasted in that regard. You could still make a female empowerment movie based off of what has existed. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But in this case, what they've done over here is really good, and I think it's a better adaptation and continuation of a franchise than that one. Even though I don't hate that movie specifically, I mean, I just think it's average at best. This one is fine. Charlie's Angels 2019 is fine. It's very entertaining, yes, and you can have a good popcorn time with it. And it does have some good performances that is helped by the chemistry. That is really the key of this film. If the team doesn't get along, you're not gonna get along with this movie. The team gets along perfectly. They're perfectly synced up. There's some unevenness in the first act when they're setting up the story, and that's fine, you know, kind of, because later on the film does get entertaining. But I feel like I'm going in circles at this point with this review because the point is simple. It's a dumb fun movie. And that's how I'm going to choose to review this one. Yeah, that's my review of Charlie's Angels 2019. I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. Perfectly enjoyable, fun B- movie. That's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Look forward to more reviews very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.